Erica with Tent Pegs and Crowns, and I'm back with another process video, this time with the Beautiful-Lent devotional by Open Journey. However, instead of working in my junk journal, I decided to continue working in my word focus cards. Yes, word focus cards. Just because I haven't had a lot of time to actually work and make full layouts. I've had some flare-ups happen, and so I just decided to do follow Lindsay's lead and do very minimal work in one of the word focus cards. Now this is a product that is available in Ingrid's shop, Open Journey, as well, and she actually has a total of 3 sets. I have gone ahead and actually purchased all 3, but I've also alphabetized all 3 of them together. So in the back, you will see whether it's from the first one, from the first set, it would just say Open Journey. If it's from the second set, it'll say Word Focus 2. And if it's from the third set, it will say Word Focus 3. Now, she does have a couple of other Word Focus cards available. And I think those were more themed towards or geared towards some of her previous kits, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on, I'm gonna go get them if I have them. Okay, so I'm back, and the only one I actually seem to have that was extra was the Armor of God Word Focus sets cards. I'm pretty sure there was more, but I could be wrong. I'll make sure to link any of the extra sets that she has available, but she does have a couple out there. I know that she has included a word focus card in some of her recent kits. I do believe they were included for the first 3 of the beautiful sets or kits, and so that is actually, if you purchase those kits, you will get the word focus in both the physical and the digital. So that's actually a good way to start if you don't actually want to purchase the whole sets together. But this one's also a smaller set, so you can do those too. I will make sure to link that as well. Okay, so I'm going to put this video on fast forward, and we're going to jump right into the olive press section of this devotional. So I'll start by saying that I don't really have a concrete idea of what I want this finished project to look like. However, there are some elements that I do know that I want to include, and it's the olives and some of the images of Jesus praying. Here I just would like to take a quick second to kind of show you the differences in colors and possibly sizes and some of the digital and actual physical differences. So here you actually see me trying to compare some of the olives and then some of the Jesus images. And as you can tell, there's not very much difference in color-wise between a digital file when you print them in your own home versus the add-on die-cut set. Obviously, the real big difference will be the quality of the paper. Now, as I'm going through the pieces that I have, I decided very quickly on that I wanted more greenery to the scene that I wanted to use. So here you see me take out a cheat sheet for my watercolor distress pencils, and I decided that I am going to color some of the green leaves. So what I am attempting to do is color match some of the colors in the original add-on from the die cut set and just try to get as close as possible as I can to those colors. Also, just a little tidbit, I've actually heard, and I can attest, that using a watercolor brush is actually one of the best tools to use for the watercolor distress pencils. When I was attempting to color match some of the green colors, I noticed that there was blue in some of the leaves, and so here you see me attempt to see if I can get something close to those blues, because I'll be honest, I have never attempted to color leaves any other color besides green, but if Ingrid did it and it came out nice, I'm going to attempt that. Before I skip to the end of the final result of these leaves, I wanted to go ahead and apologize in advance because I forgot to mention the colors that I ended up using. So 4 of the green colors that I ended up using were forest moss, peeled paint, crushed olive, and twisted citron. And I believe that the blue I ended up using was Uncharted Mariner. Now that I finished painting the green leaves, before I work on the background, I'm going to try to see if I can give myself an idea of where and how I want the elements of the die cuts placed on the card. I do know that I want some of the flowers in front and some kind of like in behind, as if he was surrounded by the garden, or at least that's the attempt. Even though there was some elements that I had taken out beforehand, and assuming what I wanted, you'll see that I switch out. So I add and then remove some of the pieces because I didn't quite like how they fell on the actual little word focus card. So don't be afraid to experiment and to remove, and you'll find something that you like the more you kind of play with the pieces. And when I say don't be afraid, I mean that. Here you'll see me take the little leaf that I just painted and actually snip it in half. I wasn't liking how it looked in its original context, and I kind of wanted to separate more of the green leaves. And you'll see me actually do that as well with the actual olives. And now that I kind of decided on what I want the elements to look like, I'm going to go ahead and remove them and get started on the background. Because the leaves turned out really awesome in my opinion, I'm going to try to do the same for the background. I'm going to try to match some of the colors to some of the colors that Ingrid uses on the olive page, or the colors behind the olives in her devotional. I did like some of the images or some of the elements in Ingrid's background, so I take out some of my stamp sets that I figure had some vines or some foliage that I could possibly use. When working with backgrounds, what you would want to do is take out everything that you think you may want to use, even if you don't end up using them, as you'll see later on in this video. Okay, now for the background, I do a little bit better job at trying to show you, but because this video is fast forward, I'm just going to go ahead and make a banner for the distress paint names that I used. I used the yellow for fossilized amber. I used brushed corduroy. For a green, I used a forest moss. And then I did notice some kind of like dark shadows, so we're going to go ahead and use hickory smoke. As I am going to start to work on the background, I'm going to get a palette that has multiple slots. That way I can use some for the actual paint and the other slots to dilute the paint just a little bit more, because I don't want a very heavy looking background. You can't see it on screen, but I did have the devotional open to the page just so I can use as a reference. So it's off camera, but I can tell that the base color was either a yellow or an orange, but since I chose yellow, that's what I'm going to use as the foundation color or the base color. And so I applied the fossilized amber first, and then I went ahead and kind of mixed in the green on top, as it was still kind of wet, because I wanted it to kind of blend in a little bit more seamlessly instead of having just like the green lay on top of the yellow, kind of to mimic what Ingrid did. She didn't really have any harsh lines going from one color to the next. They were very well blended, but they also stood out on their own, so that's kind of what I wanted to mimic. After I applied those both colors, I wanted to make sure that the next color I applied kind of stood out a little bit more without being harsh, but I did want it to blend in, but I didn't want it to blend in with the yellow and the green. So I went ahead and used the heat gun to make sure that it was a little bit dry. I want to say about 90% dry before I applied the next color, which would have been like the shadows. I used a little bit of hickory smoke, and I actually mixed that in with the forest moss because I didn't want a really harsh gray. I wanted a deeper kind of green that went almost into a gray, so that's the reason why I mixed those two together. When I think I get to the point that I like the background, I'm going to go ahead and use the heat gun again to set and dry the background. And the reason why is because I'm going to go ahead and use splatters, and I don't want those to kind of mush into the background. So I'm going to make sure that it's completely dry before I put splatters, and then I'm going to use the heat gun again to dry up the splatters before I go ahead and apply or use the die cuts. As I start to layer the die cuts onto the card, you can already see that I kind of forgot how I had laid them down. Normally what I do is I take a picture, but since I was filming, I did not take the picture of how I wanted them placed. So I kind of thought I can remember how I placed them. Well, lo and behold, I did not. So this will look very different from how I originally placed them to begin with. But it doesn't deviate very much. But I did notice that it was not how I had originally placed them. And that's fine. I still like the final result. I still like the outcome or the finished product. Now that most of the elements are placed where I think I want them to go, I'm kind of just playing around with the leaves, trying to make sure that, you know, maybe they'll look better over here or over there. So just kind of switching them around, trying to see if switching them and placing them in different places will make it stand out better, or if I prefer it that way. And once I decide that this is how I like it, I am going to go ahead and get ready to glue all the pieces down. I don't know that this is actually a technique or anything, but the way I do this is I actually place a little small dab of glue in some of the pieces so they don't all move before I go ahead and I start lifting everything off the page, because as you saw previously, once I remove the pieces off the card, I kind of tend to forget where I placed them. And so I don't want that to happen again. So I just kind of lift a little bit off, you know, one little corner and place a dab of glue. And then I just go in and make sure that the whole thing is glued down. Once most of the pieces in the background have been glued down enough so they don't start moving, I know that I wanted Jesus to kind of come off the page and be elevated some. So I was starting to look for some of those adhesive foam stickers, and I could not find it. And so I remember that I had used the egg cartons for the rocks page layout that I did a few days ago, and I knew I still had that, and I was thinking maybe I could use that to elevate it off the page since I don't have the foam adhesive sticker. And as you see here, that's actually what I did. I just grabbed whatever I thought I had and I glued it to the back of the die cut, and I was hoping that it would work. One thing about me is that I tend to forget that the Barely Art Squeeze glue bottle actually gives me a hard time with my hands, so I always end up forgetting this as I'm working through the projects, and I always end up getting my collage medium out, which makes it so much easier. I don't know why I don't do this enough or why I don't just have that out. I just tend to always reach for my glue bottle, but using the collage medium is actually a lot easier. And it actually worked out for this little mishap that just happened right now. So I thought that adding a second layer of the egg carton would be enough height to the image, but I ended up not liking how high it brought Jesus off the page, so I ended up removing them, which is fine. It all worked out. Art is about mistakes, and it was easy enough for me to just peel the back off and remove that second layer. While adding the second layer of the egg carton onto the image, I realized that my eye kept getting drawn back to the card because I didn't exactly like the right top corner of the card. I didn't like how much white space there was. So I decided to actually paint that top corner, once again using the same colors that I had used on the bottom left. I just wanted I just felt like the white was drawing too much attention to that empty space. And so I went ahead and before I glued Jesus down, I wanted to make sure that I got that little corner done before I placed the rest of the elements down on the page. When doing the top right corner, I'm going to go ahead and attempt to redo the same technique and layering that I did to the bottom left corner by applying it in the same order that I did before and using the heat gun to dry and set the paint like I did before. But you'll see towards the end that I don't quite get the same color and effect. And I think that that's going to turn out okay anyhow, just because there's going to be a lot of elements on the bottom corner that kind of distract the color difference. And now that I'm done with the top right corner, it's time to glue down the other elements on the bottom left. And this is the moment I decided I did not like how high the image came up off the card. So I just removed the second layer of the egg carton, and when I put it back down on the card to see if I liked it, one layer was more than enough. Here you'll see me struggle with the glue gun. I mean, not the glue gun, the glue bottle again. I don't know why I insist, but I actually edited out the length of time that it took me to pour that amount of glue back onto the image of Jesus. So I spared you that. After applying the Jesus die cut, I realized I hadn't dried the splatters from the top corner when I did them. So this is actually what you see me do here. I'm actually just making sure that the splatters are completely dry, because I also forgot that I wanted to use the stamps of the vines and the foliage in the background. And earlier I had mentioned about taking out the elements and stamps that you may think you may want to use, even if you don't end up using them. I did not end up using the stamps, and I just didn't think it would quite fall right or look right in this picture or in this project, because it was such a small card. I think maybe if I would have done a full Bible page layout, it would have been better, but I just decided against it in the end. As I start to glue the last pieces on, I'm deciding in my head that I still want to add some elements. I'm just not sure what, since I didn't use the stamps, or I'm not going to. So in a second, you'll see me pull out some of the tile stamps that Ingrid offers. And I just kind of play around with the idea of maybe possibly adding some to kind of draw more, or just to add more character. You see me end up deciding against it. I didn't quite like it, and then I had this afterthought. I thought about Jesus in the garden sweating drips of blood, and I had the thought of adding red thread as to represent and symbolize the drops of blood. I also ended up taking out the black because I still didn't know if maybe the red just wouldn't quite look right. So I take out some of the black because I'm gonna try to see if the red actually looks decent on the actual project. And I just had a backup of the black. But as I'm adding the red thread on, I realized I really liked the thought and the idea and how it looked. And so I said, I don't want the black. I'm gonna add red to both sides of the image of Jesus, on the top and on the bottom. I'm a little unsure of the craft name or the name of this craft tool. I don't know exactly where it came from or where I got it from, but it just was there one day in my stash, and I decided to start using it. So if you know what it is, can you please let me know what it is? It has like kind of like a pick on one side, and then it's like rubber, a brush on the other. Don't know where it came from. So I use that to kind of push the thread into the image, and it kind of gets stuck in between the egg carton and the image. So it's still kind of wet from the collage medium, but I just wanted to make sure it didn't fall out. So I added a little bit of the glue. I kind of wanted to use some of Ingrid's scrippy stamps, kind of as a symbol or symbolic of, just meditating on his word and making sure that that's, what you center your life on his word, and just to always go back to the word, and that what you hear and put into your heart is the word. And so when I was deciding on where I wanted to place that, I decided that I wanted to do red splatters to kind of play or blend in the red thread just a little bit more, but I also decided just kind of like the drops of sweat that were blood. And so this is what you're going to see me do here, is I kind of watered down or diluted some of the red distress paint, and I'm going to go ahead and splatter or make red splatters. And I want to go ahead and make just not a lot of splatters, but just enough to tie it all in together, make it all cohesive. This would be my final touch to the card, as you'll see here. And when I decided to do the red splatters, I completely forgot about the script stamp and using that on top. And so you won't actually see me use it as I finalize my project right now, but I do end up realizing this when I go to take pictures, and then I do that then. Unfortunately I did not remember when I was recording, otherwise I would have included that as well. But I did go ahead and stamp the image or my card with the scrippy stamp afterwards. So this is the final result of my project for the Strengthened Word Focus card. So if you have enjoyed this process video, please let me know below. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. And as always, thank you for watching, and hope to see you soon again. Bye-bye.